The Hood team at Mason Mac is a direct, independent mortgage lender licensed in Virginia, North Carolina, and Florida. Download our app, Quick Mortgage, to apply in minutes and sign documents in seconds. To learn more about our Affordable Housing for All initiative, including down payment assistance, grant funds, second mortgages, and more, visit www.weloverva.com.
There's no brakes when you're swinging hard, but squeeze the core.
That's a clip.
Yeah.
There's no brakes when you swing.
That's the lead in. That's the
pretty
cold
cool.
open.
Yeah.
That and
was actually pretty-
that
really
and
good.
about 15 missed putts. So many missed putts.
That poor lady on the other side of the wall with me just hitting golf
I mean, I
balls
did say
into the
stop.
trim.
Welcome back, everybody, to Homeownership Explained, the podcast that promises to save you time, money, and stress when it comes to managing the biggest investment of your life, your home. I'm your host, J. Raleigh Hood, at J. Raleigh Hood on, frankly, far too much social media. A little bit more about me. I have been a tenant and a landlord. I have bought a home and I have sold a home. I have been a realtor, largely entitled. But for the last 10 years, I've been with Mason Mac Mortgage on the lending side. For those reasons, real estate is just a passion of mine. And by virtue of being on so many sides of it and being raised inside of the industry, I feel I'm really qualified to weigh in on a lot of different aspects of it. My ultimate goal for this show is to make homeownership something that is accessible and easy to understand for everybody. Because none of us are taught how to buy a home, which is the biggest investment of your life, that means that basically everybody comes into their first home purchase knowing absolutely nothing. Most buyers come to me with information that they've gathered from the internet, both good and bad, from folks who have bought before, both good and bad. And honestly, anybody who hasn't bought a home in the last 10 years, you're going to have a totally different experience than them. Today's episode focuses solely on the field of insurance. I'm going to highlight what is going on in that very volatile industry right now. I'm going to point to some of the things that the carriers are doing, but I'm also going to highlight some of the things that the consumers are doing to push back. Then I'm going to sit down with Michael Hankins from Usher Insurance, where he talks about his day-to-day as an insurance agent, and he shares some wisdom that can help us become better shoppers in that field. But before that, it's time for the very first edition of a segment that I'm calling TLDR. TLDR stands for Too Long Didn't Read. On the internet, if there's a long-form post, article, or story that requires some pretty heavy reading, or honestly just a couple paragraphs these days, some helpful contributor will typically summarize the contents in a couple sentences at the very bottom, prefaced with the letters TLDR, or Too Long Didn't Read. That's entirely my intention with this segment. Today, we're going to do a TLDR on Q1 and insurance. Oh boy, the TLDR on Q1. Well, in December, lenders and realtors and anybody keeping tabs on the home industry was probably forecasting a steady decrease in rates over this calendar year, trickling over into 2025, where we were supposed to be finding our new floor for interest rates. That sounds great. What actually happened is we gave a little bit of the ground that we gained back at the end of 2023 and 2024. Mortgage rates ticked up about 100 basis points over that first quarter, which translated into a modest and probably completely unnoticeable uptick in rates for most buyers. Why I sound defeated right now? This week, the Fed released their updated inflation reports, and we are still nowhere near their 2% target metric, which means that we are going to be sitting in this state of inflate for at least the next couple of months. I think when this year opened up, there were hedged bets that the first rate cuts were going to be in May, and I can see May from here, and that ain't happening. Then they kick that can down the road to June, and honestly now I think that the stage is set for the spring market. There's no immediate relief coming for interest rates, so anybody who's been in the market to buy should be decisive now or pay more when the rates dip. As soon as those rates dip, the buyers that have been sitting on the sidelines are going to be motivated to get back in the game. The competition will increase on an already finite supply, and those prices are going to go back up. Now, it's probably the least sexy advice that I will ever give on this show, hopefully, but the way to win in real estate is by being consistent, making offers that you're confident in and comfortable with, and you will eventually get a good outcome if you stick with it. Much like the stock market, it's really hard to jump in and win big. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. Neither is something you can really plan on. When it comes to the biggest investment of your life, coming at it with a thought-out plan that is informed and supported by a team that knows what's going on in the industry is vital. Now let's pivot to insurance. So anybody who has renewed a policy in the last 6 months or so has probably been met with a giant case of sticker shock. Premiums are more expensive. Customers are very confused as to why. So I'm going to talk about both sides of that. From the carrier side, they're likely going to point to the same things that I just talked about. Inflation is out of control. Everything is expensive. Therefore, we're going to need more money built into those policies to replace items if we're making claims. I've also seen statistics that claims are up, which totally makes sense. When money's tight, folks are going to be more inclined to use their insurance policies to make those claims. Now, if you ask me, and I know you didn't, the primary side effect from the pandemic seems to be some combination of corporate greed and price gouging. But that really doesn't change anything. It's just the playing field that we're on. Because of all of this, insurance companies are starting to implement more and more technology, which comes with pluses and minuses. The plus for the insurance company is obviously it's probably cheaper to outsource things to technology. The drawback is that they often make mistakes and they often really make their customers angry. I came upon an article on Reddit just this week, actually, that showed that insurance carriers have admitted they're using drones to spy on the homes of their policyholders. They'll take pictures and send demand notices to fix anything that they see that is a defect or that isn't covered in their policy entirely. One commenter on this Reddit article said that he was sent a picture of a drone of his roof with a black spot on it, and he had to pay $500 to get the spot cleaned off to prove to his insurance company that it was not a defect. Another commenter took that a step further. He said that he was met with a 6-week demand notice after his insurance company noted an issue with his roof. They said that he needed to replace his roof entirely if he wanted to be able to renew his policy. He said that his back was up against the wall, he replaced the roof, and that when he went to renew that policy, it came at double the price. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but 99% of homes in the entire country are cataloged in what's called the Geospatial Insurance Consortium catalog. Now, obviously, sounds cool. But a lot of policyholders are pushing back simply because they feel like their privacy is being infringed on. And it's pretty hard to disagree with that. But they're also highlighting that they're making a lot of mistakes. And I say all of that to say this. You don't know what you don't know. It's Michael Hankins' go-to line, and that's why he is my go-to guy when it comes to insurance. If I don't know something that I think is extremely important, it's important to me to find somebody that understands it in and out. Hankins has been my go-to call for all things insurance, both professionally and personally. I remember we had a storm at my last house, and I had a giant twin hickory tree that completely split apart and fell down, with half landing just short of the house and the other half landing just short of the fence and hitting my shed. Now, I got a quote to have it taken away, which was $3,000. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have $3,000 back then. And if I did, that's probably almost exactly what I had. I called Michael Hankins and asked him what my options were, and he told me that since it hit a dwelling that was covered by my insurance policy, my shed, that I only needed to pay my deductible and that I could make a claim and they would pay for it for me. Professionally, I remember a time where Hankins was able to save a client of mine a ton of money. She was purchasing a beautiful waterfront property right here in Chesterfield that was in what we call a flood zone. Because of that, she had to get an additional insurance policy to accommodate that flood, and that quote was $10,000 a year from her current insurer. I called Michael Hankins for a second opinion, and he said, yes, I do think $10,000 is a bit too much. How about $900 a year? My guest today's go-to line is you don't know what you don't know, and that is exponentially applicable in insurance. Having a quality, plugged-in representative who knows what's going on in the insurance industry, who can give you diverse products, good pricing, and quality advice is absolutely invaluable as a homeowner. If you don't think you have that, then stay tuned and let's listen to Michael Hankins.
I got first tee jitters right now.
You got first seat jitters?
Yeah, the juices are flowing.
Buddy. Dan's supposed to be sitting right there offering input, but he has, now brace yourself, double booked himself. Now, how many schedulings did it take us to get this one to stick?
To my knowledge, 2 I was involved with.
And that's 2 that he was involved with. Excellent point. All right, so beyond that, today's guest is Michael Hankins with Usher Insurance. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
So we start the show off talking about your personal background, kind of where are you from, little baby Michael Hankins. What was he like? Actually, skip past little baby Michael Hankins. What was like adolescent moving forward?
Adolescent moving forward. So I grew up in Short Pump, pre-Walmart days.
Horses,
llama farms, peacocks, the whole thing.
Which house were you?
Specifically, I lived in Millstone.
Is that House Llama?
That is not House Llama. That is House Lake West.
Ah, okay. All right. Continue.
So grew up in Short Pump, went to Deep Run High School, and then from there, tooled around to Bridgewater College for 4 years, came back to Richmond, and from there, worked a couple jobs here and there, did a long stint with Enterprise and got rescued by a buddy's dad saying, hey, I need you in the insurance industry.
And so tell me about Enterprise. Like, I have heard conflicting things. I've heard you could work there your entire life and actually make some money, but I've also heard they will work you until you consider whether you want to be alive or not.
All the stories are true. They're all 100% true.
Okay.
It's just whatever your truth was there.
Okay. One of my favorite questions. Tell me about your childhood home. On the last episode, I talked about how my father-in-law says, think about your childhood home when you're trying to fall asleep. Paint the picture for me. Paint House West.
So House West was quiet and loud.
Okay.
Meaning just a normal house in the middle of the burbs.
And also you.
With me. But I shockingly was the quiet one. My sister, I love her to death. She kept it extremely interesting.
Nene.
Yes.
She's still on the run, last I heard.
Yes. But yeah, I would say just a very uneventful childhood as far as any interesting stories. But I would say just a good place to raise your kids, something I would want to emulate in my own house.
Now, what age was it where it's well known in our town that you were to be a very successful soccer player.
Yes.
You had a promising future ahead of you before
Yes.
it was taken away from you.
It was not taken away from me. I realized when you were, growing up playing travel soccer, when you have to drive 4 hours to play a 90-minute game and turn around and drive 4 hours back.
Okay.
I expressed to my parents that I don't think I want to do this anymore.
Okay.
And I've never seen 2 happier parents in their life.
See, my research actually turned over an interesting fact that you had an arm injury that prevented you. A source of mine was quoted as saying that you're known to reference that injury from, basically taking your whole future away from you.
The great tragedy of 1999 is what you're saying. Yes, as a third grader.
For those of us that don't know.
Yes, dislocated my arm, broke it. Probably set me off my path set me back at least 2 years.
Tell me about how you get from Enterprise Rent-A-Car, where Michael Hankins will pick you up, I believe is their slogan.
Exactly.
And then you get from there to, I believe you were a desk jockey. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, that was more of the gatekeeper.
Ah,
Went through the interviews, and then my final interview was with my buddy's dad, saying, "Hey, I already know you. Just are you gonna do what you say and get into insurance?"
okay.
Absolutely. So I had no background in insurance whatsoever. Ended up being underwriter and territory sales manager. And then from there, learned the entire back end of the insurance agency, from the claims process, generating a policy, what it takes, what companies are looking for, rate management, pretty much in a small company that's only Virginia based, relatively about 40 employees. You pretty much become a jack of all trades.
And you're just sitting there just like triaging problems all day.
If somebody calls in, one stop phone call with all the answers to the best of my ability.
I mean, that's not dissimilar for me. Like, I basically was just like the guy who put names on files for a little while. And then it was like, I got to put the files away. And then it was like, I got to shut the drawers. And eventually they let me drive and stuff. Like, it was awful at the time, to be honest. But now I'm really grateful that I can just like, the little things that you pick up along the way can save you 20 minutes on hold, can save you an hour of calling the wrong people.
Correct. And also you just get more pointed questions, I'll say. And, when you call somebody up, similar to I would be the person calling that person now.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to say creating a story, but asking just a very quick 5-minute question to get a 5-minute answer rather than a 25-minute ramble.
So how do you get from there to Usher, right? Straight shot?
Not a straight shot. So the company that I worked for was owned by a larger insurance company out of Alabama. And like any, I will say, new father, just had my little girl born. Found out I was getting laid off 6 weeks later.
Oh.
Yes.
I don't think I knew that.
Yes. So I went into panic mode.
No.
It's an experience, unfortunately.
I mean, to be fair, to give some context, not
Yes.
everybody watching this knows you. Like, I know you.
Yes.
Like, I'm stressed out thinking about how stressed out you would have been. Yeah, I would say that you like to have processes in place,
Correct.
like a plan.
It was probably a 15-minute roller coaster in segments of crying, happiness, it's going to be okay, back to crying. And I believe the day it happened, I just told everyone, hey, I think I'm just going to go home.
It's kind of good that like 6 weeks after you have a kid, you're just like kind of numb. Like
Yeah.
you're just kind of like,
Yeah.
I just watched a human being shoot out of a place that used to mean something totally different to me.
Correct.
And now you're going to say I'm getting fired from my job, whatever.
And
Like,
I just
what
took
is
on
a job,
and
man?
I just took on a car payment, so I got financially couldn't be in the best, like a better position right now. I'm so excited.
I know this is a family show, but a car payment. Like, I mean, car payment.
Yes, I'm not thrilled to take on $600 a month, so I will fix the transmission in the 2013 Pilot when it's time.
All right, I just popped out of the woods. I have somebody who's a teenager that's going to be a driver tomorrow. What should I expect to pay per month for that? What is that thing y'all call it now?
A youthful driver.
A youthful driver.
Yes.
Yeah. What if I drive youthfully? Does that classify me as a youthful driver?
I mean, typically underwriting might catch your youthful driving habits.
Yeah.
But if you are a youthful driver, I would have said, 4 years ago, depending on what is called standard 16-year-old vehicle, hey, I'm getting a 2012 Toyota Camry with 180,000 miles on it.
Okay.
Maybe you're looking at $120 to $140 increase per month.
Increase.
Correct.
Off of.
Whatever you originally paid.
Okay.
Increase.
Okay.
And then hopefully it would have been an under promise and over deliver situation.
Okay.
In today's world, it's just a super turbulent market as far as where insurance companies are based on all the things that we maybe talk about daily with the economy. So it's a little bit of a, I'll say, add and find out. Now, if you have those clients that reach out 3 weeks, a month, 3 months in advance, say, hey, I might be doing this around this date when my son or daughter get their license, you can prepare and say, this is what I'm looking at.
The first home that you ever bought, you still live in that home, correct?
Correct. I have been there just over, I believe, 11 years and 1 month.
Jesus.
Correct. Yeah, I originally had no idea about the mortgage process, anything. I just lived at home for a year and banked half my paycheck.
Yeah.
And one day, I just happened to go talk to a realtor that I had grown up playing golf with and said, I want to buy a house. And he said, great. And then he said, how much money do you have? I said,
I've been living at home saving money.
I said, I have $5,000. And he said, we can make that work. And,
Who was the realtor?
It was Sky Bruce with, I guess, Sky Bruce Properties out in the West End.
Still
They're
here?
over off
Still
Knuckles
around?
Road. Yep. I get their emails.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So then from there, I guess I'd say was a victim of the process, showed up at a bank, and they said, you have a contract on a house? Yeah. What do I do? How do I get funding?
Now we're talking.
Yes. And they said, well, you're 29 days to closing, correct? Sounds great. We're gonna hit you for a quarter of a point.
Yep.
I was not happy, but I had no idea.
Yep. They had you.
Correct. And then from there, they showed me a spreadsheet of numbers.
Yep.
I said, sounds awesome. Had no idea. And
Didn't even know there were options.
Nope.
Just
Pretty
like
much.
this is house. I get house with this.
Yeah, they said we have conventional.
Yeah.
And I said, well,
Ooh, conventional first
yes.
time.
They said, what do I
That's
have?
a flex.
Yeah. What do I have to do? And they said, you just have to write a $5,000 check. And I said, I can do that.
Wait, so the bottom line was exactly how much money you had?
I had more than that, but I don't think I really felt comfortable giving away the whole $6,000.
Yeah.
I had to have a little bit in case of emergencies.
That's smart, man. That's smart. You know, that's kind of my job is to help people with that, to not expect people to think of this.
Me and my wife's situations, we love our house. We went very much for a builder's grade house when we went in. Have done all the upgrades, have a fantastic lot, lucky to be in an awesome neighborhood, which I thought was a starter neighborhood. Now it's pretty much middle market neighborhood.
Jeez.
Yes. And
Yeah, I wouldn't call that a starter neighborhood now.
no. And we've just put our, I guess, to be cliche, our heart and soul into that house. And now that our kids are, or my little girl's in kindergarten, and we might do one little small upgrade to the house to kind of make it our forever house.
Which would be what?
I would like to rip off our deck, make it a kind of an all seasons room.
Okay.
That way I can add an additional TV.
It's all about the TV.
It is.
all about the
but
TV.
but the main thing is that I would like to have a house where my son and daughter want to hang out, where their friends
You're already
come
on
to.
that.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm looking into the future.
Jeez. Have
Yes.
you bought a grave? Have you looked at graves? I feel
haven't-
like you're already there. Like you got it all planned out, man.
I would probably be a good candidate for that. I would think, I don't know the future, but if I can get it on a subscription model of $10 a month for the next 60 years.
But what if you're the
that would be
last?
great.
What if you're the last guy that paid for a grave, and the next day they come out with like laser blasting, and it's like, no, just stand in front of the laser, and we blast you into nothing.
I guess I just changed my routing and account number and just let it bounce. I don't
See,
know.
conversely, my grandpa forever, he was just the dude. There's Greenwood funeral, whatever, up the street towards you on 288.
Yeah.
He was driving by one day and was just like, like coming back from hunting, probably had a deer like attached to the truck, and was just like, yeah, I'll buy that. Came home with 2 plots. My grandma was like, you're an idiot. You waste your money. And it was like 50 times as expensive when he died. Like he locked in at 1970 pricing.
Yeah. He just looked at the future
That
and
should
said,
be an option. That should be an option.
that's my spot up on the hill right there. I think I'll go ahead and lock that down.
Yeah. Okay, so what do we got next? All right, so typical day in the life of a man of insurance of your caliber, what would that look like?
I tend to get a lot of calls in that first 20 to 30 minutes. So my day pretty much my morning gets planned for me with calling people back.
Do you allot for time in your day to handle that stuff?
I have evolved to getting those early phone calls back, because if somebody is calling me at 8:05 in the morning, they got something on their mind.
They're going to call you.
They want an answer.
Well, and they're going to call you at 8:25, and they're going to call you at 8:36.
Correct. I do get a couple phone calls back to back. So once I get through the morning portion of reaching back to people, I'll typically sit there for about an hour to 2 hours and just roll through all the administrative duties while taking phone calls, and then stacking my day based on everyone's a priority, but getting what I can get done the fastest to those people, and then from there, because not everyone's policy is cut and dry. Some are, which is great. Some aren't. So it's just kind of setting a deadline in my own mind of asking someone, can I get back to you at 2:00?
Mm-hmm.
How about tomorrow? What works for you? Let them let them set the timeline.
I have ruined so many of my days by saying I'll get back to you by the end of the day. The end of the day is an arbitrary term.
Correct.
And if I'm not asleep, it's not the end of the day.
Correct. And for someone who has sent me an email at 9:30 at night and I have responded back. Yeah.
Have you ever watched me play Tetris? Because I'm not great at it. Like, you'll see, like, it gets very overwhelming. The blocks come in quickly. It's not great.
Yeah, and that's the nature of insurance, though. Sometimes it's I'll say 2-hour sales cycle where somebody's looking for an immediate answer right then and there.
They want to check a task off.
Sometimes you have a 12-hour, 48-hour sales cycle. Sometimes it's, hey, just get back to me by next week. That's when I'm open. Sounds great. I mean, you still do the work.
Yeah.
But you can kind of say, hey, Tuesday at 4:00, can I reach out to you? Sounds great. Got it blocked off.
Put a flag on it.
Correct.
You a big flag guy?
I am not a flag guy. No. I do the red flag gives me anxiety. To do unread.
I do that too.
Yeah.
It's chaos though.
It's
putting a
chaos.
Literal number on your stress.
Especially when you sneak in a few Expedia emails and you're like,
Or
well, there's 2 I just knocked off.
Or if you're somebody who receives other people's emails, like maybe people who have retired or don't work here anymore, and you get multiple people's inboxes.
Yes.
And those people, maybe we're the type of people to sign up for things willy-nilly. And yeah, it's a hot mess.
Yeah, I just use my wife's email for that.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
It is.
That's out. That's official now. Does she know that?
Yes.
Now. Have you ever walked into the ABC store and there's a huge line and you don't know why? And there's obviously a lot of demand they're fielding, and you've just sort of walked in for an everyday type of shop. You've never had this. So I've had this where I walked into the one up the street, and I walked in, line wrapped around the store.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, I think it was around like holidays. So I was just like, I guess a lot of people only know one gift like me.
Yes.
And so I walk in, and I was like, okay, like I'm getting what I'm getting. So I think I think I got a bourbon and a gift for somebody.
Okay.
Got in the back of the line, and I heard like a few minutes later, "Are you getting whiskey?" From this old guy in the front. He's going, "Are you getting whiskey?"
Yeah.
And I was looking around. I was like, I mean, there's definitely people with whiskey.
Would that be the guy that's out in front of Home Depot, that in Sonic, that specific store?
He's the type of gentleman to be outside of many a Home Depot, I would imagine.
Fair enough.
And he said, he starts yelling like, "Who's getting whiskey?" And I was like, "There's people with whiskey all in front of me." And then everybody turns around and looks at me, and I'm talking like 35 people, and they're like. They're obviously looking at me, and the guy's like,
they're looking for that one guy.
The whiskey drop, and I was like, I'm buying whiskey, and he goes, not this whiskey. You can come up, and then I walk by everybody who's clearly like, I guess, more affluent than me by the look of things, because I'm purchasing a lesser liquor that they just toss out to people as they walk by.
One that's readily available is what you're saying.
Yeah.
They would call that non-allocated.
Okay, so that's a long form way of saying I'm not a snob. I'm not a snob about basically anything. There's a few things: toilet paper, pillows.
Definitely not golf ball snob.
I mean, no, not a golf ball.
Lose a Slazenger in a heartbeat and be okay with it.
It's easier not to connect with them because I know that we're not long for this world in our bond.
Yeah.
Speaking of
to
golf,
a watery grave.
All right. Speaking of golf, I'll tee you up for one golf question.
Okay.
All right. It's 215 yards. Slightly. Nope. I'm gonna change it.
Just paint the picture.
No, I'm gonna paint the picture. Okay. It's windier than you thought it was gonna be, but you wore shorts anyways.
Is it downwind?
No.
So it's into the wind.
Into the wind.
Okay.
280 yards.
Okay.
Into the wind. Slightly uphill. Front pin with a false front. So the pin's right past the false front.
Okay.
What are you hitting?
Is Captain Choice rules?
No.
No.
You care about this score.
I am probably hitting a 6-iron. to about
280? 280.
No, to about 180. About 180 yards. I'll be 100 yards out.
This answer. I hate this answer. I'll cut that out. I gotta
My,
stop swearing. I didn't swear at all with Jen, and just looking at you, I'm swearing my.
I bring out the best in everyone. I would say that would be the smart play.
How far do you hit your three? What's a better? I just want the answer that I want.
It's 265 to 275, somewhere in there.
And then some roll.
I don't get a lot of roll. I have a high ball flight with a lot of spin, so I just carry the ball.
How often do you play golf? Once a month?
I'd probably say once every 6 weeks, hopefully.
Yeah.
My goal was to play 20 rounds last year. I got 10 in.
Yeah. Once a week would be nice.
Yeah.
Generation before us got everything, man.
They did. Yeah, no,
They soaked it all up. All right, so common mistakes that you see in your field.
Common mistakes that I see
By the consumer.
in my field by the consumer. That's a loaded question because I often get this question from insurance carriers, and I usually label it to 3 types of consumers. You have your consumers that have been with, say, said company on TV for 40 years. I just pay it and I move on.
Okay.
So I've had a policy with that company. I don't care. They're the greatest. Awesome. Then you have people who, maybe a younger generation, a 20-year-old that wants to, hey, I can do everything myself online. Hey, sounds great. Best of luck. God, when something happens, I get a phone call and they let me know and I help them through it. Or the third one is, I'm trying to dabble in the independent channel. I've never heard of your companies. What is this?
And to zoom out a little bit, what is the independent, like, so for me, independent lender, that means I'm shopping different investors on the secondary market.
Correct.
The people who will service your loan, purchase your loan, want to get all that sweet, sweet interest. So if you're, as opposed to going to State Farm or, wherever holds your auto insurance, what's the difference with you guys?
So the difference with us is with said companies that you just mentioned, you have, I'll just call it, departments. You have insurance guy, department person that you call up on the phone and you speak to. Then you have representative you call on the phone. Could be John, could be Matt the next day, could be Dan, 3 calls later. And you're having to tell your story, but they're helping you through it. And hopefully you're getting someone who's either knows what they're talking about or they just weren't hired yesterday. You're kind of rolling the dice. The difference with us is that we are full service. So start to finish, similar to like a concierge service.
I use that word too.
Yes, it's where I stole it from. Where you're going to call up, someone's going to know your name, know what you have going on, know your situation, know the answers to your questions. But when someone calls up, it's really just diving into what do you have going on? What's your individual situation? Mm-hmm. What are you trying to accomplish? And usually with me, that's getting the right coverage for someone. That way, God forbid, if something happens, they're not getting bad news on a bad day.
Yeah.
And then with that, they're getting a competitive price to say, hey, I can afford this with the right coverage. So they can protect the things that they've worked hard for and sleep at night.
And I've tried to figure a way to put that, like, it is my obligation as somebody who's trying to earn your business to make my price competitive with everybody.
Correct.
But I'm also, by virtue of not being a big box, going to have to go above and beyond by being the dude who always answers the phone, who is basically your concierge. Yeah. That's a benefit. Like I tell people all the time, especially people that have, deposits in certain places, get a guy, lean on a guy, have a guy who's like, hang on, my dude's calling, I got to pick up the phone. Yeah. Like that is invaluable and everybody can have that.
Correct. And I've learned that as I've gotten older with a service-based economy, there are some services that you should absolutely pay for. Mm-hmm. CPA guy, I'm trying to do my taxes right now. It was a miserable experience. Mm-hmm. Lots of anxiety, a lot of, I don't know what I'm doing right now. Yeah. Is this correct? What am I missing out on? Mm-hmm. That's a lot of the experience that I hear from clients calling me to say, hey, I don't understand what any of this is. Why does yours look so different than what I have now? And then explain to them that, hey, the insurance policy is more modern now.
Yeah.
There are better coverages. You can get larger amount of coverages. You can insure your home, your auto the right way and either get a cheaper price, the same price, or just tell someone, hey, this is going to be more expensive, but what you're trying to accomplish is this. What you think you have is not what I sent you.
Yeah.
Things like that. So, and it does involve picking up the phone, because in my line of work, as somebody makes newer purchases, hey, I got a new car.
Right.
Hey, I'm buying a new house. Hey, I'm buying a secondary house. Nice. I get to somewhat grow with them. Or if somebody says, like, we've had a lot of clients move to Florida, move to Texas, move to whatever state it is. Michael, do you write insurance there? I do not. But hey, let me see what I can do to find someone who is, as like-minded as me and customer service based.
In Texas?
I got contacts everywhere. Just
You're
reaching
telling me
out.
there's a guy wearing pleated pants with awesome belts who can hit a golf ball?
Specifically pleated pants. Yeah.
And shorts.
Yeah.
And 320 plus drive, and he knows how to write a good policy?
Correct.
I refuse to believe you can find that. Well, he wouldn't be as charming as you.
Yes.
All right. So you're, having hit all that, your advice to people who are, shopping for a home, but I would say mostly people who have existing policies across the board, home, what do you wish people called and asked you?
Well, I've been reliably informed that when you purchase a house, it might be the largest investment that you make.
I mean, for me, yeah.
Yes. So I would say don't skimp on $3 line item coverages.
Okay. Like what? Hit me with some sexy line items.
I see from time to time there's one like ordinance in law, meaning, hey, as building codes change, in the event if you have a claim and that has to be, I'll call it activated. That line item, maybe it's $10, $15 to the company. You don't want to be paying out of pocket to bring your house up to code, as opposed to that allows the company to then do their job. Okay. There's other things, water sewer backup. If you have a fully furnished basement, those claims can be $50,000 pretty quickly.
Water's the enemy. We all know that, right?
Water travels downhill, so your basement is going to hold that surprise when you get home.
I have printed off, because I know your love of workplace jargon.
Yes.
I have printed off 10 terms. And what I'm going to need from you is I'm going to need you to tell me what the word means or the term, and I'm going to need you to use it in a sentence.
The ultimate roll of the dice right now.
Oh, I'm very excited. We can edit out anything problematic. It's fine. Let it fly, big guy. Tee it high. Let it fly.
Okay. Is that question one?
No.
Oh, I knew what that one meant.
None of them are questions.
Oh. Well, I knew what that phrase meant.
All right. So to give you an example, number one is ping. I would say I give you a softball for the first one.
Yes.
So what does it mean, and use it in a sentence?
This is not a golf reference.
No, these are all workplace
This is like
jargon.
I ping you.
Yeah. What does that mean?
I have sent you a communication.
That's correct. Very good. Very good. All right. They're going to get harder.
Yes.
Number two, bubble up.
I would assume that means get the critical thinking cap on.
It's actually tell your boss what's going on, but only if it's important. An example would be, if a client's giving you trouble, make sure to bubble it up. This is your boss's way of saying it will help if you need it, or he will help if you need it, or she. Are you familiar with a phalanx?
I am.
See, a phalanx, you have it. You have a.
Excuse me, what was that?
A phalanx.
Okay.
Are you familiar with phalanx?
I believe I am.
So a phalanx, you have your outer shell. Your
Yes.
boss would be in the interior of the phalanx.
Yes.
So that if something were to bubble up and get through, then it would become his problem. Otherwise, it is not his problem because you were the phalanx.
And I just take it all.
Is it phalanx?
I think it's phalanx.
All right. Number three, cascade.
I'm just thinking rolling downhill.
Okay.
Bad things are happening.
You were getting there on the first one. So cascade is to tell other people so your boss doesn't have to. So you're disseminating the information.
Trickle down.
Yeah. Trickle down cascade. You get it.
Yeah.
All right. We're at number four. White space.
I'm gonna pull one out of the Matrix and just say that's the control room.
I'm going to need a little bit more information. Could you use it in a sentence?
I perpetually find myself in the white space.
That doesn't give me any sort of
Yeah,
context.
I have no idea.
It's the space in which you are within reach of a sale. So it's like the potential sales to existing clients. Let's take advantage of our white space and have our inside sales team start reaching out.
Oh, wow.
I know it's bad, right? All right.
Let me hand you off to someone.
I'm going to think you're going to know this one. Break down silos.
Break down silos. So we're getting the grain out. Just we're getting the information to the people.
What's the grain?
Getting the information to the people. Breaking it down.
Is the grain
Line
the information?
items.
The grain?
Yes.
Okay. So a silo is like a channel of communication, as I understand it. I didn't write definitions down for all of them. So it's basically like breaking down the barriers of communication, like making people communicate between departments better. So as opposed to like marketing being only marketing.
I'm just a one department guy.
Yeah,
I am the silo.
Like my org chart is just a picture of me that says sup.
Yeah. Look in the mirror every day and say, just a silo guy. How many silos am I going to have today?
All right, so number 6. This is the Dan Putnam one. KSA.
Oh, wow.
I'll give it to you if you can get 2 with a 3.
KSA.
That's correct.
Drawn a blank.
Wow. All right, it's knowledge, skills, and abilities.
Yeah. It was...
That's a clip.
Yeah.
All right. Number 7, hot desking.
I assume that just means you're on a heater and every phone call that you're making is going well.
That is incorrect. That's what we do every day.
Yes.
Hot desking is like you have, it's just like first come, first serve desks, as I understand it.
Okay.
I think it's like military hot bunking, hot racking.
Okay.
It's just like, just get up there and go sleep. Get in there, work, I think. I think that's how it works.
I have no
Or
idea.
maybe the guy with the hot hand gets the desk.
My facial expressions when you're reading these off are probably gold.
Yeah. They're just always gold.
Just
If it makes you
critical,
feel
just critical thinking
You're either
right
deep
now.
in thought, which is like,
I'm just shocked face all around right now. Just like what comes next. I'm excited.
all right. Number 8. Move the goalposts.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. Let me kick the can down the curb.
Yeah. So specifically, move the goalpost would be like, hey, we'll give you $1 if you do this, and then you do it, and they're like, oh, and that. And
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
We're familiar with that.
Yes. And you can do this for me as well.
Yeah. God. Number 9, voluntold.
I think I've experienced this once or twice in my life.
Use it in a sentence. Don't use your wife. I'm just trying to help you.
Yes, I was.
You went right to it, and I was just trying to save you.
I'm more so actually real life right now from Harper.
Mm-hmm.
Dad, when are you going to put this mirror up today? Which means, Dad, I need my mirror on the wall now so I can look pretty in my pretty dresses.
When are you going to put this mirror on today?
Specifically around 7:15
really
when I
like
get
that.
home.
I really like that.
She doesn't ask her dad questions. She bosses her
You should
dad
just
around.
acquiesce. It's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Number 10, blue skying. It's the last one. You
It
could
has to be positive.
Yeah, I can help you out. If you don't know, you could just blue sky an answer.
Just make something up, say it with confidence.
It's kind of like creative thinking. Yeah, like problem solving, brainstorming.
Okay.
Oh man, you did so poorly.
I-
Would you say you did better at putting or at that?
I'm going to say I did better with that than not putting.
I feel like I've made you look bad, and I don't want to do that. I'm actually looking for the obvious. I mean, I've given you alcohol and loosened you up. I've turned on the fireplace. You know, I feel like you're still a little on guard.
I still got the first tee jitters.
Golf game is tense. What can I do to make you feel comfortable? Is it Dan's fault? You don't
I
have
love
to say it
Dan.
out loud if you're worried he can hear.
We're going to cut this? Let it fly.
You're like Ron Swanson in Home Depot. You're just like, I know more than you.
Yeah, I just go through the store, just find it. I don't search for the aisle, bay number, this exact model. I just, you know what?
Looks
get
good.
it done.
Cobalt, Ryobi, Milwaukee, DeWalt. What do you got in your house?
I have Ryobi because they have multiple
Knew it.
batteries that fit everything. That's why.
So this is your opportunity to provide a call to action. You're not a big social media guy. You're not you're a call me guy, right?
Correct.
So that's what you want? You want people to call you? You just want me to scroll the phone number at the bottom right now? Just call them.
Yeah, just put it across. Just 1-800 blah blah blah. Yeah,
That's the number. You got 1-800 blah blah blah.
yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah, everything I've ever done's been word of mouth. Doing a good job for that individual specific person, and thank God they've told their friends about me, and I've just built a network of really good clients, and also really good business relationships. That way, in the event if someone needs something, hey, give Michael a call.
That's right. He's got 2 phones.
Correct. I do have 2 phones.
2 phones. I've always had a theory. Really good job, really sketchy job. Like, you got 2 phones, one of those is going in a lake.
You gotta be
or 2 phones is like, one's like, so I can just get some peace and be with my family.
As my buddy would say,
family's code for
you gotta
Brandy.
you gotta have a bag phone. So, but no, that's no, I do have a bat line. I do have a personal phone. I get hit up on both.
Okay.
Which isn't a bad thing.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say just if you have anything, give me a call, look me up, and always happy to help.
A heartfelt and sincere thank you to everybody who watched, liked, subscribed, followed, shared, engaged, texted me directly, and told me that I was going to be famous on HGTV. I don't think it's true, but it does feel good. I'm looking to create new segments to bring in new guests, so if you feel like you're somebody that has something to say or that has a question that you want answered, please contact me at homeownershipexplained@gmail.com. So please keep tuning in. Follow me at jraleighhood on, again, far too much social media. Reach out, engage, and help me bring homeownership to everybody.